Today's lesson is the percent proportion. The main idea is solving problems using the percent proportion. And the percent proportion is going to be this big proportion we have set up on our right. Part over whole on the left equals n% over 100. Now, anytime we start a problem, we're going to want to start by setting it up like we have this proportion. And things we can fill in, I'll circle, are 100. We can always put percent on the top right. And the key word on the bottom left is going to be of. We'll see why that is in a second. Also, we have our steps here on the left as identifying placement. Then we'll cross multiply and lastly divide. So we'll see those in action right here. Example 1 is what percent of 32 is 24? And before we even read that, let's just write out, we have our fraction equals another fraction or ratio. And we're going to have 100 on the bottom, percent on top, because n% is n over 100. So this percent sign is just a reminder to us that anytime we see a percent, the number is going to go right there, okay? On the bottom left, we have of, because in this problem, now we'll read through it now that we have everything written out, what percent of 32, right there, right after of is 32, so we know that is our whole, is 24. So then 24 is going to go on top. A key word with 24 is, however, seeing in this top right here with our key, part is the number before or after is. In this case, if we were looking at is, we see there's a number before and after. So we have to rely on of. Of is going to be our key because the number after of is always going to be our whole. Now we have one missing spot, and that is what we are looking for. And it says what, so we'll have n%. Now that our setup is done, we'll cross multiply and divide. Cross multiply first, divide after. So 32 times n will give us 32n. We like to have the variable on the left. Then we'll do 100 times 24 will give us 2,400. Our last step is now we need to divide. So now we have 32n dividing by 32, the coefficient on both sides, so that we keep our balance even. And now we have n equals 2,400 over 32. So we'll divide 2,400 by 32, and I get 75. So n is a percent, so we have 75% as our answer. Next example is what number is 40% of 125? Again, even before worrying about anything in the problem, we're going to do our setup here. Percent's on top right, of on the bottom left, and is in parentheses kind of lets us know that is typically after we do of. That's why I put parentheses around it. So now we'll read it again. What number is 40% of 125? So I'm filling in 125 right there, right after my of. And 40% is going to go right here next to my percent sign. And we're looking for our part because we have what number. So I'll put P for part. And now we're cross multiplying to find the answer of what P is. 100 times P will give us 100P. And that's going to be equal to 125 times 40. Plug that in on your calculator to get 5,000. And now we have 100p equals 5,000. We need to do our last step of dividing. So dividing both sides by 100, you get 5,000 over 100. If we divide both by 100, we can just cross out these two zeros on each of them, and we'll get p equals 50. On to the next example here. Before we even read it, let's get our proportion set up. 100 on the bottom, percent on the top, of on the bottom left, and is in parentheses on the top left. So 20 is 80% of what number? Right now we have of what number, so we don't know what's going to be here. So we're going to put W because that's what we're looking for, our whole. Then we have 20 will go on top. It is before is in this situation. Notice that it can be before or after. And then 80%, so we're going to fill that right next to our percent. Now we are ready to cross multiply. 80 times W will give us 80W. And that's going to be equal to 100 times 20 is 2,000. Now we're on the step 3, which is divide. Anytime we multiply, cross multiply, you typically need to divide unless our coefficient is 1. Here our coefficient is 80, so we have to divide both sides by 80. Zeros are going to cancel out. 200 divided by 8 gives me 25. I could have also noticed that there are 8 quarters and $2, and that would be another way to notice. But we have, so now that leads us to W equals 25. Next example here is a little bit longer one. We have lunch. So we're going to first set up our proportion. 100 on the bottom right, percent on top. Of on the left is on top. So Jim read the nutrition facts on a box of cookies. Every serving of cookies provides 15% of the recommended daily value of sugar. If a serving of cookies contains 3 grams of sugar, what is the recommended daily value of sugar? So in this one, it's not as clearly laid out as our past few ones, and sometimes word problems are like that. Sometimes they won't even use the words of or is as much. So looking at this, I do see 15%. So we're going to put 15% right there. And that sentence is every serving of cookies. So every single serving of cookies gives us 15% of our whole. Our whole is the recommended daily value. So we are looking for our recommended daily value. What is our recommended? So we're going to put our W underneath for our whole. So that leaves us with 3 grams being our part. Another way we could have told this is seeing that serving is just part of our recommended daily value. So 3 grams is also part of our recommended daily value of sugar. Now we are left cross multiplying. I have 15W equals 300. We then need to divide both sides by 15. And the result is going to give us W equals 20. 15 goes into 32 times. Have the 0 on the end, so we have 20, and our label is grams of sugar. If you need more help on these types of problems, there are some personal tutors available to look at that'll go through some more examples.